in a way, probably everything I say, you think I've heard some version of that.
No.
And everything you say, I think, yeah, I've heard versions of that. I've read bloody Straw Dogs. I've read Dawkins. And I know that you've vastly moved on from sort of Selfish Gene and good Lord, look at dear old Dickie Dawkins circling back to, I actually like those cathedrals.
Right. Well, I mean, first of all, it hadn't even occurred to me that I've heard all this before.
Oh, cool.
You're definitely a one-off person, and one can say that about everybody, but you are a deep outlier for sure. Your ability to integrate things from many domains is spectacular, and to do so from a place of humanity and humor. It's a very, very unusual skill set. So I don't take this to be well-trodden territory at all.
Well, I'm not going to just let that compliment pass, because I'm a person who faces a fair degree of criticism.
I've noticed.
Don't know if you are aware. Not everyone out there likes me. Some people are going right out of their way to destroy me. As a matter of fact, conflating, inflating, exaggerating, attributing extraordinary, odd anecdotes. I mean, it's a vile concerto being played by a berserk orchestra out there.
That's true.
So thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And you know, it is one of the, I mean, it's maybe the conundrum of the era, is that in order to do what you must do, you have to abandon any obligation to that system that's judging us. And, you know, that's not a solution to any problem, which is why I think we're watching this revival of religious belief. You know, our system, the failure of it is so evident to anyone who is paying attention that I think people are attempting to reboot the last thing that worked. And I don't think we can actually get out of it
because
that way.
there's a continuum. There's no, I disagree. Because I think with the conversion of Constantine, the institution of Christianity becomes allied to empire, and this remains unbroken to right here, right now, Westphalian treaty or not. It doesn't matter if we're droning people neatly with perfect Huxley-esque white orbs, or if we're hysterically in turbans slashing away at clerics. Violence is violence, and however you undergird your dominion, whether it is through hermeneutics or politics, for me, it's you can't make that claim. I don't agree with that. Power is power, I believe.
Well, all right, let me try this on you. Oh, no, you had somewhere you wanted to go.
I was just thinking about, like, see what's going on with the sort of emerging discourse around Trump, Bret. Like, it's this a bit, I'm jumbling this together sort of as I go along. There's no surprises for you there. But, like, say if you say, so isn't the assumption behind something like, not the original book by Margaret Atwood, Handmaid's Tale, but by the televisual version of it, that what we're experiencing in the ascent of Trump is this sort of attempt to purvey and impose a sort of Christian patriarchal system. And like, if I imagine that they would say that what it's a critique of and what it's an exploration of is the idea that these sort of strongman leaders across Europe, and you know those arguments. But it seems to me actually that what we have in government in your country now is more tyrannical and terrifying than Trump. This sort of banalised bureaucracy of terrifying authority. So that they're creating this concoction of, you know, watch out for this sort of militaristic, charismatic, wild man-child Trump figure. When in fact what they are doing is far more insidious, nefarious, dangerous, and observably more bellicose and destructive and apocalyptic than happened in his 4 years of sort of somewhat clumsy, forgive me, I know there's a lot of Trump fans watching, of his administration. So, like, what, you know, because I'm saying this preemptively when you're about to say it's an attempt to reboot sort of the institutions of Christianity, which of course failed. And like, you know, remember, we've already covered that the orthodoxy of science was utilised in the same way that you would have burned heretics, you know, that poor dude that understood the cosmos, that monk, Bruno, whatever he was called. Yeah. You know, like, enough of that gear went on. Enough of that went on during the period that, you know, where you and I are aligned and allied, to suggest to me that it's like a revival of spirituality, and in my personal case, Christianity, is not likely to lead to some sort of Atwood-like dystopia of like, now you women folks get in the home. It's like just a set of principles and morals based on fraternity and like, you know, sort of, I don't know, like what Methodism bestowed upon this country, for example, that there's much that is beautiful that will come from it. And it is, and even in the most dystopic version, it is as nothing compared to what is being delivered under the sort of auspices of neoliberal friendliness as they sort of pat us into total submission.
Well, I don't disagree with you about the terrifying nature of what is taking place in my country, and it isn't even really my country. It's at least as broad as the Five Eyes, so your country too. But that thing is, I think, as grave a threat to humanity as there has ever been. And when I say that I think this religious revival is an attempt to reboot the last thing that worked, that is not in and of itself an argument against it. In fact, I would argue that's probably an ancient historical pattern for our species. And the only reason that I don't think that's necessarily the right thing to do at this moment is that the religious traditions in question evolved in a world we don't live in anymore. And so I'm afraid that although they contain many things that are superior to the system that we are living in, they are inadequate as presented.
But this will be an adaptation and part of an ongoing evolutionary flow.
Let's hope.
Therefore will not be necessarily a sort of an atavistic throwback flux,
Well,
but a remodification and not repurposing, but utilization temporally through time of those principles. Indeed, isn't what we're experiencing now this sort of this new banalized tyranny, this sort of friendly Kafka-esque bureaucratic nightmare? You know, where, like, just to give you a clear example, when YouTube, if you try to go, excuse me, why have you done that? Like, you know, the team have decided that you have violated our community guidelines. Do try again later. You know, it's like, who am I talking to? Hello, hello, like sort of 1960s sci-fi
100%.
horror. So isn't what they're terrified of, and this is sort of, again, Martin Gurry stuff from his book, you know, The Revolt of the Public, like, oh no, the potential now exists for mass decentralization and incredible radical overthrow of our systems of power. In fact, it's already happening, whether it's examples like Occupy or the Arab Spring or Napster. There are countless examples of it working, or the emergence of someone like Bobby Kennedy, or indeed Trump and Twitter, or Elon acquiring X, the emergence of Tucker. They're realizing that independent media is very dangerous, and if it organically, you're the evolutionary biologist, wouldn't the next natural step for it to become a set of political alliances, decentralized but unified political alliances, where you would go, well, we want to run our community on these principles, and obviously, Russell, I'm not Christian, and obviously, Russell, you are Christian. Are you cool with that? Yeah, I'm cool. Okay, good luck.
That is exactly what they are afraid of. And it would result in, I believe, a 2.0 version of all of the stuff that does work, including Christianity and other ancient traditions. So they are trying to forestall this, and they are doing so telegraphing their fear, in fact. If you look at what they're doing at the World Health Organization and the Pandemic Preparedness Treaty and the international health regulations, they are attempting to gain the ability at the international level to shut down all of the processes that would allow us to do that decentralized thing, which is obviously utterly necessary given the failure of every single mainstream institution simultaneously. So they know that this is what we should be doing, and we don't yet quite know broadly enough. We need to accelerate this process, and we need to defeat that treaty and those health regulations because we can't afford to fight against that disadvantage.